la la la. La 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 la. Oh, happy day. Oh, happy day. Okay. Hey, I'm Dagny. In this video, I'm doing my very first Q&A video post. Thanks to you, we are now a little over 1,000 subscribers in this community. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. I noticed there was an increase in questions about me, like people want to know more about me, and I'm like, what? Why? But then I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. So instead of writing a book in the comments, I asked you to share questions with me. Thank you so much for sharing those questions with me. Y'all be sharing like insightful, in-depth, thought-provoking questions. I was like, okay. I had to sit back and like let it marinate to reflect on my responses, which I am so grateful because that shows like you and me, like we're on the same wavelength, you know? You my people. I appreciate that. Now let's get into the questions. I was born by the river in a little tent. No, I'm just like, I was born in New York. We moved around a bit. So the majority of my life so far, I've lived in Texas. My dad's side of the family is from Ghana and Switzerland. My mom's side of the family is from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. So the most valid one-word response to this question is I'm from Wakanda. That's the only logical explanation to my existence. I chose Ghana, one, because I am part Ghanaian, and so it wasn't a foreign planet to me, even though I had only visited like a few times growing up. And in those times, I was only here for like 4 days to maybe like 10 days, either because it's a funeral or I'm just tagging along with what daddy had to get done at that time. So I had been here before. But the other bigger reason was at the time, I had come for a visit, and back in 2018, and took note that things just seemed very different than what I had remembered like 10 years before. And I was in a place in my life that I was ready for a change of environment. I was seeking to find a space or find the place where I feel like I'm really moving towards or moving like aligned with what I'm supposed to be growing into and moving towards. And during that trip, it just seemed like the movement that I could see happening in Ghana was aligned with that. Then on top of that, I had the opportunity to move here and actually work, which I thought was a better use of my time than the original plan of I'm going to move and figure myself out and maybe attend a conference or something to try and network without really connected to anything. So, and then also I had accommodations that I could actually rely on. So it just seemed like for the first step to moving my life in Africa, Ghana is the place I should do it. In 3 words, describe Dagny. Well, vibranium, generous, intense. A perfect day for me is when I feel loved and I feel safe. Usually has to include some form of like creating something. In terms of staying, I'm here. I can't say whether I'm going to be here for 30 years or not. It really depends on how things play out and how life plays out. In terms of citizenship, yes, I got it. I am a dual citizen. I did that back in 2019. No, I was not a part of the group that had the whole ceremony and stuff. So it was just me by myself saying, oh, yay. Ooh. Very good question. All right. For me, as an individual, my plan is doing business here. So I am developing a business here, or developing the first branch of a business here, which is a physical product. So it will not introduce, but continue to push trade with Ghana, because I'll be selling it to not only people here, but everybody outside. And all that money is going to Ghana's economy. Right now, I'm in the sample phase of my product. I've been in the sample phase of my product for 3 months now. That's another story. All of that money is going to Ghana's economy. So as an individual, that is what I'm doing at the moment. I think in terms of the idea of making Wakanda real, for me, Wakanda is a mindset, first and foremost, before the really cool architecture and advanced technology, which I also hope to see in my lifetime. I think the more time you spend being here and keeping your ear to the ground and the sky and everything in between, you get a better sense of what's really happening and what kind of Wakanda could actually be here. On the surface, it seems like it's only money that's the issue. If we only had the funding, everything would be perfect. And I feel like that's not the only thing. Like, I feel like it's not only money that's causing systems that are in place and systems that are lacking here to still be like that. I think it has more to do with the people who are running it and why they run it the way they do. And I don't think everyone is oblivious as to why things are the way they are. Like, I don't think it's no one has the answer. It's like, no, but we're keeping things this way. I feel like things are kept a certain way for a reason. For example, African leadership is an interesting dynamic, because on the one hand, one can say that African leadership is the reason why all the problems in Ghana and Africa are the way they are. Nobody else put them there. On the other hand, African leadership might be connected to puppet strings that determine why they make certain decisions or why they allow certain things to happen. And I preface this to take note that I'm always learning myself. I cannot claim which party or which person or which tribe should or should not be in office, should or should not be doing something. When we talk about African leadership, it's very easy to name the president because we don't know all the names of the ministers. And we don't know their authority, their autonomy, or how much pull they actually have. For example, I think recently like 20-something ministers were sworn in here in Ghana. I don't know their names. I don't know what they are ministering. But let's just take, in particular for like those outside who look to, because I get the sense that when I see like there's so many like YouTube channels now that are catering to Africa's diaspora, claiming we're giving you the news, we're giving you everything that's going on. And a lot of it are these like headlines of, so this African country's president said this, that, the other. And that's a great thing because apparently that means they're standing up for themselves. It's like you're imposing your imagery of your version of Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Malcolm X, Huey Newton, Martin Luther King Jr. Like, they may not fit that image. You know what I'm saying? Like, they may not really fit that box. For example, let's look at like just some headline sound bites that happened recently. First headline, President Akufo-Addo makes a speech saying that with the whole cocoa production, we are no longer going to continue the arrangement that we have right now with these European companies because they are obviously making much more than one of the biggest source of cocoa in the world. So we need to rearrange this or cut it off or do something else because we got to stand up for ourselves. And the diaspora is cheering, yes, that's my president, that's my Black president. You better tell them, you better show those colonizers, you better show those Mzungus, you better go tell them, you better go tell them. Next headline, Ghana is now placed on the black list for money laundering. All banks all across the world are on red alert to take any transactions in and out of Ghana with high scrutiny. Okay, I didn't know we were doing mafia transactions. That's cool. Okay. I mean, as if we're the only country in the world doing that. Next headline, Ghana is removed from the black list for money laundering and is now set to be the Africa's manufacturer for the vaccine. So who paid who to be on the list and off the list? Like, how did we all of a sudden the mafia stop making transactions? Like, what happened? Next headline. European companies say they're banning cocoa from Ghana because of galamsey. Galamsey is the deal happening here where Chinese companies are doing mining, which is poisoning and destroying the environment. So these companies are claiming we are putting our foot down, and we will not be sourcing our products from countries that are not taking care of their environment. These same European companies that have been in existence for a while, who possibly have already finished destroying the majority of the planet, now care that mining is happening in Ghana that might be causing a problem with the environment. That's interesting. That's very interesting when you also look at the subheading of how Chinese companies in China are now producing cocoa, because for the past 10 years, they've been working with Ghanaian scientists to understand, agriculturally speaking, how to grow and produce cocoa in China. And those companies are now exporting cocoa to Europe. Is Europe okay with the environmental issues happening in China? But we're not okay with the environmental issues happening in Ghana, but are they not interconnected? Don't hate on the messenger. I'm just giving you facts. No copy. Next headline. Ghana's president takes a private jet to France to let France know that Ghana cannot repay its debt to France. But where did the money come from to pay for the private jet to let them know that we can't pay them back? Next headline, Ghana unveils new beautiful tour bus to continue boosting local tourism. Ghana unveils 500 new garbage trucks to further develop and help sanitation issue in Ghana. You see how all those headlines are not directly connected, because I feel like there's a spider web of other connections in between each of them, but the overall thread, the overall message with those headlines is not everything is as it seems. It's like we have good intentions and we are actually making some progress, but instead of taking 3 steps, we're taking 1, because after 1 step, we're actually really heavy with the corruption we're carrying with that 1 step, that we got to take a breather before taking the next one, which is why it's going to take another 5 years before we get to step 2. It's an interesting. And don't get me wrong, it's called corruption here because it's in Ghana. The exact same tactics are being done in other countries that we call democracy, but we label it democracy instead of corruption. I share all of that to take note that this Wakanda that we want to see happen, I think that we have to understand that not all skin folk are kinfolk, first and foremost, but also that we don't all have the same definition of freedom, especially when it comes to what that freedom should look like in Africa. And in the movie, Wakanda just made it seem like, oh yeah, everybody's on the same page. We all want the exact same thing, which that's not the case in reality. So if we get to the point where we're all carrying this vibranium, are we all on the same page of what we're supposed to use this vibranium for? Or are we still going to continue? Are we going to use the vibranium just like how we're using money? No, I want to scheme or get it now because I need to chop now, instead of understanding how the collective needs to be okay with it. So you gotta reflect a little deeper. Got to reflect a little deeper on how that Wakanda is going to be the case, because the collective needs to be on board. It can't be, well, Dagny, what are you doing yourself? And that's the example that everyone should see. It's like, okay, y'all see me out here. Has that made any difference in the grand scheme of things? I'm not sure. Which also reminds me of something I forget if my dad came up with this analogy or he read it somewhere and shared it with me. Might be similar to what it was like to build a cathedral, where the first group of people who started it never saw it finished because of how long it took. But the finished product is really magnificent and has continued to serve its purpose afterwards. It's possible that we are building Wakanda now. But those of us who are here now, who maybe are considered the next wave of so-called pioneers, because I'm not here to reinvent the wheel, best believe that. But maybe, I don't know if we'll actually see the end result in this lifetime. Not saying it's impossible, but I'm not sure if we're being honest with ourselves with how much time it's going to take, how much discipline it requires, how much real teamwork it requires, the type of commitment it needs. Because we're not building Wakanda in a vacuum. Unlike the movie, where they really did not have to deal with the stupidity of the world. We do. Well, the revolution will not be televised. It will be live. Yes, indeed. I'm not going to give the blueprint in this video, but there are certain things I would like to achieve. And I do feel I'm at the beginning stages of it. So in 5 to 10 years, if the world has not come to an end by that time, due to us continuing to disrespect the planet, I trust that what I am building and developing makes a real solid impact on the community it needs to reach. Yes, right now it's a product, but the plan is that with the profit of that, it expands so that to provide real opportunities, because that seems to be what I want to be, in a position where I can provide real opportunities. Yes, I can provide inspiration, I can motivate, but the real thing where you are good and your family's good because of the opportunity I was able to provide to you, like that's a big deal. Like changing the trajectory of generations that are not only related to me by blood, but related to me because of who I am and what I've created. That's what I would like. That is what I trust I am already achieving by betting on myself and taking the risks that I'm taking out here. Well, thank you. Funny you bring that up, because a few years ago, I would say like 2019, probably because these sorts of things were happening at that time, I was toying with the idea. So of course I was writing it down, of hosting like curated experiences, starting here in Accra and then expanding throughout other parts of Ghana. Because I have an eye for beauty. I have an eye for ambience, or at least creating the ambience in the space. And I wanted to share that. So I was thinking of it being almost like a subscription-based type thing. So it's every month, there's like 2 events of some kind or 2 experiences. And the experiences were like things that I wish we would have or that I could go to. So it's not about to be seen in a photo op. It's like we're doing activities so that people are actually connecting to each other. We're having discussions, so you leave learning something new. And you also create memories, that is a part of, that showcases the culture here, showcases different types of characters here, showcases the different types of spaces and terrain and environment you can have here. Now that you bring that up, maybe it's an idea I need to actually put into play. We'll see how things go, but we might debut that I'm not sure if I want to debut it like on a regular month where you will have more access, because the hotels would be, if you're traveling for it, the hotels are not as packed. If you're already here, the venues are not as packed. Or should it be something that's for the December crowd, where everything is overpacked and saturated, but might have a bigger turnout because everything is overpacked and saturated? I'm not sure. You tell me, which do you think would be a better deal for the first round? Let me know in the comments. Very good question. Okay. I feel there's 2 layers to that. As an individual, yes, I get how unfair that is, because it's possible that the people coming from outside, even though their qualifications are from outside, that doesn't mean they're smarter or better. It means they're different. So to be honest, you should actually hire both candidates so they can learn from each other. We can all learn from each other and we be one big happy family. But that's not how things work. If you're the individual on the receiving end of that, like you're the one looking to be hired, I don't feel you have a whole lot pull to tell your potential boss, well, if you're paying me this, are you paying everybody else this? That's not how they operate here. So you're probably going to get you're not going to get hired, and they'll move on to the next person who could care less. I think in terms of what one can do about it to bridge that gap, wanting to be an employer out here, you can make a point of paying higher than minimum wage. You can make a point of providing an actual ethical and sustainable environment for the people who work for you. That will take time to learn and grow in, because people here know or assume that you don't know what minimum wage should be or what things should cost. So there's a balance between wanting to push against the unfairness, the blatant unfairness that's here, and wanting to not be completely taken advantage of, because you're seen not as someone trying to be helpful, you're seen as a money bag. On the bigger level of legislation should be put in place and stuff, I feel like that's not our lane. Let me tell you why. This reminds me of a certain incident on social media that happened recently. Going into this gap between people with their qualifications from outside or they're from outside and coming in and just, it seems that they just pick up opportunities when there are highly trained and qualified people here who are sitting at home and can't get them. Recently on social media, there's this, let me preface this, okay? I don't know anybody who is involved in this scenario, in this incident I'm about to describe to you. I'm just telling you what I observed. There's this gentleman who was like the youth ambassador in the president's office for like the Office of the Diaspora or something. And he recently announced that he's been promoted to another title that has something to do with strategic youth engagement in the government or in something. I'm not sure in what. And I'm not sure how it's different from what he was doing before, because I'm not entirely sure what. Both didn't necessarily have all the details like listed, but it was like, okay, yeah, they're promoted to something, so they're still doing, it seems like they're still doing work along the lines of youth engagement in Ghana. The response to this. On Instagram, the response was like, yes, go my bro. That's my future president. We're so congratulations. Oh my gosh, we knew it. What happened for you? Blah, blah, blah. And then, oh my gosh, I'm so humbled. Oh my gosh, because of you, all this. Okay. So you get the sense like it's all his friends or something. I don't know. It's like it's an actual community or it's an actual circle of people. Then you hear a different response. Mostly I saw it coming out of Twitter, of people kind of dragging him, taking note of like what credentials, first of all, what does he even do? What does the title doesn't really say what he does. So where did this position come from? How does he have what are his credentials to be in this position? Who else could have applied to, was this position open for vacancy? Like, could people have applied, or was it just his? And maybe due to that conversation that was happening, another person who from what you could read, that person is friends with this gentleman. She herself is also a content creator here, as well as a lawyer. When she posts something, people will see it. She posts written on an Insta story of how, this is why Ghana can never have nice things. This is why it's so disheartening to see Ghanaians tearing him down. How dare you compare his credentials from wherever he went to for university outside of Ghana to your credentials wherever you went to university here. And I think she like mentioned a university in Ho. It was kind of the sentiment. Ghanaian Twitter, I just saw this on Twitter. I don't know if this also happened on Facebook or on Instagram, but Ghanaian Twitter then proceeded to take screenshots of her messaging and proceed to drag her with her friend on Twitter. And started bringing out all kinds of details, like Miss sitting in your apartment. I don't know how they know she's sitting in an apartment in London. Did they see her? I don't know. And apparently somebody's family member from way back was conniving with the CIA to overthrow the government. So that's why she's sitting where she's sitting. And then, well, this is what's wrong with the bourgeoisie of Ghana. They just sit back and complain, but they're the ones causing the issue in the first place. We're all suffering because they want to sit back in their apartment somewhere else in London complaining about something. I was like, to be honest about all of this, I was like that meme of Michael eating popcorn. Like, yo, what'd she say then? Yo, what? Hey, what? I was like, wow, okay. Let me get a more comfortable chair, because this is history you don't get in the textbooks or Wikipedia. So dang. I don't know if any of those receipts are legit or not. I don't know these people personally. I bring that up in part of my response to this question, because there's a bit of frustration in, like, if you are part of the diaspora, there's a lot of stuff that you can see that's like, you're blatantly like, bro, that doesn't make sense. So just stop doing it. We would all be much better. And it's like, yes, but you don't understand. There's a whole other lane where that unfairness derives from. They know themselves. They know who they're related to. They know what tribe they're a part of. They know who killed who. They know who put who in jail. They know who married who. They know who slept with who. They got their own telenovela type deal going on that we got no nothing about. And anybody you ask will tell you a version of the story that favors them. So unless you are a part of them, you really don't really know what's going on. So if you decide to put your foot in their business, to tell them what they should or should not do, or tell them what's right or wrong, they're going to look at you like, I saw some episodes of Quantico, and wait, was that the CIA or the FBI? No, now I don't remember. Both of those institutions are capable of making people disappear. So I'm just saying, like, you might have good intentions because, you know, we're here to save everybody because everyone should be like living in unity, but you put your foot in other people's business. And then you wonder why you turned into Enemy of the State Part 2. Like, don't be coming to me asking for help, y'all. And again, I'm not claiming those people who were dragged are a part of any of that, because I don't know them. I share that whole saga to showcase the fact that not everything is as it seems. So this gap, this discrepancy, this obvious unfairness when it comes to payment of labor, when it comes to opportunities for people here in Ghana, best believe, understand, there is not only one villain in the story. It's very easy to claim the villain is vague corruption. It's very easy to claim the villain is you foreigners or you diasporas or you expats in here. It's very easy to claim all of that. But that's not the only villain. And some of the people on the villain list are the people you think you're trying to save. I'm just saying, similar to how like all of a sudden everyone wants to talk about galamsey, but make it seem like these Chinese companies totally just like invaded and nobody could do anything about it. I'm like, best believe they got permission to do what they're doing. Guess who they got permission from? So just be careful with like these blanket, generalized, profound statements of how you know how things could be much better. And how shall we fix it? It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. My chair. I need to get another chair, you guys. It keeps on doing that. I'm sorry. Be careful with that because, like, you don't know all the facts. You don't know all the details. Okay, good question. I do a lot of reading and a lot of listening. As you may know from previous videos, like, I'm an avid reader. I also am a journalist. I'm trained as a journalist. I'm published as a journalist. We have a certain way of keeping a pulse on topics, in particular like human stories or things that people would want to understand. I also naturally am just like someone who likes to go into depth intensely about things. That's where my perspective comes in, of trying to balance out all forms of propaganda that gets pushed out for these certain topics and try to get to the source of why it's important and what we can learn from it. Oh, that would be such a cool project to do, to like explore Ghana through its food. Thank you for that idea. I'm going to have to like create a collaboration or something. So far, as in recently, as in during my time of living here, I've only been to obviously Accra and I've been to Takoradi. I would love to do a piece on that actually, and collaborate with a few other people so that we can actually try the different things. My eating habits are different since I am vegetarian and primarily like vegan plant based. So there's a lot of the other dishes I would need to collaborate with someone who they can try the other traditional dishes that I wouldn't eat. So we can give you like a wholesome perspective on how each region of Ghana represents food-wise. I mean, my immediate family is okay with it, quite happy with it. They kind of live vicariously through my adventures. And it gives them a reason to visit more often when they can make the time. In terms of friends, most really haven't said anything. They're just like watching. And then the few who did reach out are actually quite excited for me. They really appreciate being able to see a different side of Africa they don't have access to through my content. And there's a few also like reached out and wanted to know like all the details of what it's like being out here. They feel like something's happening out there, and since apparently it looks like I got it all figured out. That's so funny. They want to know, should they go ahead and purchase a ticket to come tomorrow? I take that to be very encouraging because that means maybe I am doing something right out here, and maybe the effort I put into sharing my experience and sharing the content that I share is actually reaching the right people, is actually impacting or empowering or inspiring for the right reasons. So I am glad about that. Thank you again for sharing your questions. And I enjoyed sharing with you. Now you know a little bit more about me. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe. I'll see you next time.